Hello everyone, this is going to be a 180 Q&A test. Plaintiff attorney is Mr. Flowers, Flowers. Defense attorney is Mr. Carpenter, Carpenter. Again, plaintiff attorney Mr. Flowers, Flowers. Defense attorney is Mr. Carpenter, Carpenter. Okay, and this is going to start with the plaintiff attorney. I'm just turning the sides of my pages so that I don't have a problem flipping them over. All right, here we go. Ready? The accident date, which I have as May 10, 2014, does that meet with your recollection of the date this incident occurred? Yes, it does. Okay, how long before that date had you gone back to the operating forklifts? Oh, a good year anyway. I mean, on a regular basis, I used a forklift the total time I was there on and off, but not for the first 2.5 years. It was basically around the yard, just moving things for my own convenience and whatever, not unloading the trucks and stuff until later, like I said, about 2.5 years into my employment there. And you went back to that because they lost an employee? Well, one of the employees left. I was working myself out of a job basically. I got the yard all cleaned up, the warehouse cleaned up, and it needed to be done. So that was my job basically. Okay, on May 10, 2014, were you a full-time employee of Redlands Industrial Supply? No, I've never been a full-time employee. I work 3 days a week part-time. You said 3 days for 8 hours a day? Yes. How many forklifts did Redlands Industrial Supply own on May 10, 2014? They just owned one forklift. Had that always been the case, that they just had one forklift the entire time you worked there since June of 2011? Yes, they've always just had one. Could you describe that forklift for me? Do you know the manufacturer of the forklift? I can't think of it right now. I believe it's a 5-ton. Do you know if it had interchangeable forks? Yes, it did. All right, how many sets of forks did Redlands Industrial Supply have? Excuse me, not interchangeable. They had one set of forks, and then they have extended forks that they could put on it. It went over the top of the original forks. Okay, so they had another set of forks to extend the forks, but they fit over the ones that are attached? Yes, that is correct. Do one set of forks always stay on the forklift? Yes, sir. Okay, the set of forks that were always on the forklift, how long were those forks? I'm going to estimate 4 feet. And when the extended forks were placed over the 4-foot forks, how long were they at full extension? Again, if I had to estimate, I would say about 5.5 feet total. Okay, I want to take you to the day of the accident on May 10, 2014. When did you receive notification that on that date you were going to be unloading a truck that was coming in? When the truck arrived, which was around noon, I just automatically got on the forklift, went out and unloaded it, in which whoever was available would do the same. You know, I was available. I went out to unload the truck. All right, did someone talk to you about doing that, or did you just assume that on your own? I don't remember exactly. Okay. Sometimes they, remind us, hey, we've got a truck to unload. Sometimes I just see them drive up. This happens on a regular basis. So, whoever sees it, if you're available, you go out and unload it. Does that make sense? All right. Yes, that makes sense. And I'm usually the one that does most of the unloading when I'm there. All right. Do you know where the truck that you were unloading on that day was from? What company? No, I don't recall. What was the first thing you did in preparation to unload the truck? Well, I got on the forklift. I went to the truck, talked to the driver. What do we need to unload? He pointed it out. We began to unload. When you looked at the load, did you do anything to change the length of the forks? No, sir. Which forks were on the forklift at the time you were unloading this particular truck? It was the extended forks. And did you think you needed the extended forks in order to properly offload the material that was on this truck? Number one, these forks are left on the forklift 99% of the time. We usually take them off when it's necessary to take them off for a smaller load, something real small or a small tight area where you have to work. So the answer would be they were on there, but yes, I did need them to unload the truck. Okay. Well, when I went out there with them on, not knowing, like I say, we normally use them for all our loads if we can. We don't take them off. Have you ever taken the extended forks off? Yes, I have. What was your reason to do that? Usually a small work area, a smaller pallet, and like inside the warehouse, if we have a tight area or something, and you can use the fork, the shorter forks, it just cuts off 1.5 feet, so you can back up and, maneuver better. Well, did you ask anything about the load that you were offloading in terms of the weight? No, I did not. Describe what you were offloading from this truck on the date of the accident, May 10, 2014. At the time of the accident? Yes, it was 2 pallets approximately 2 foot square, and it was loaded with banding material approximately 3 foot high each pallet. At the time I started to unload it, I asked the driver about handling both of them at the same time. I do not. I want to be careful how I say it. I came up to unload the truck and we're to unload these 2 pallets actually, not knowing what the pallets were on the pallets. We unload a lot of hose and this sort of thing. I had never unloaded. I had moved these kinds of pallets with the banding on it, but I had never unloaded them off a truck before. Now, are you talking about you had never unloaded off of a truck this banding material? Correct, yes. Or how about the size of pallet that the banding material was on? Had you? Yes. You had unloaded that? Yes, several times. Type of pallet in the past? Yes, I had. When you first went out to the truck to unload this banding material, were there only a total of 2 pallets that you were unloading? Or had you already unloaded some material before this accident occurred? I can't really recall. The incident stands out and I can't recall positively one way or the other. Okay, so you don't have an independent recollection that you may have offloaded a couple of pallets, just single pallets, before this load where the incident occurred? Honestly, I can't say. I think I did, but I'm guessing, and you don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want to guess or get a guess. Just your best recollection. I'm going to show you a photograph. We'll mark this. Can I just borrow these? Yes. We'll mark the first photograph as Exhibit 1. I'd like you to take a look at that and tell me if you can tell me what's depicted in that photograph. That's the 2 pallets that we were unloading. All right, and this is a photograph taken after the pallets had fallen off and were on the ground? That is correct. Had they been moved in any way from their position after they fell off when the photograph was taken, if you can tell? That calls for speculation. You can answer. I don't believe so. All right, and this is the banding material that we're talking about? That is correct. And at the time you were offloading the material, you were attempting to carry both pallets of banding material. Is that correct? Correct. All right, when you first pulled up to the truck, did you have any type of a conversation with the driver of the truck before actually going in and picking up those 2 pallets? Yes. Okay, we have a small word list. The only thing on our word list today is Redlands Industrial Supply, and that's going to be REDLANDS. Industrial, capital INDUSTRIAL. Supply, capital SUPPLY. And that concludes our 180 Q&A test. Good luck.